I'd care more if that wasn't a plot they've used like 3 times already in Heroes.
Yeah, like the actual candidate dies, and so the one who was never meant to be the candidate actually ends up going on the throne. It's the Henry VIII problem, really, ain't it? Like, the one who's always been a goof off and like has no interest in ruling ends up being the one that has to do it.
Was that the case of Henry VIII? Well, maybe it was. In his older brother, like, he married his older brother's wife, didn't he? To begin with.
Yeah.
But it's
his older brother was meant to be king, but he died. Yeah.
It's one of those weird ones where Henry VIII was an oaf, but weirdly he's not the worst king we've had.
Well, based on the fact that we've seen worse, but then again, he probably had a hand in making sure history would remember him at least well, and he also had.
Here's a spoiler for you, Rick. We have a unique perspective here because we're British. We have to learn about him. No one else does.
No. And like, he's one of the first things that you think of when you think of a figure from the past.
Well, maybe for you.
Because it's a lot easier to think of Henry VIII than it is to think about Hitler and not have to think about all the things that he did.
I think you're coming at that from the wrong angle, and I appreciate this may not be the right podcast to talk about this, but again, there's a lot of indoctrination. We learn about Henry VIII pretty much first in history, and then he keeps coming up. It's got nothing to do with it's easier to remember because he's more recognisable. It's drilled into our heads from a young age. There's a reason why there's a lot of royalists in this country. It's because we're taught from a young age, the king and queen are very important. Here's this important person from 2022.
Yeah, and you get top marks for getting things right. That's kind of the problem with things that you get taught in school. But oh well. And yeah, I always used to hate history for how they used to repeat the same lessons a couple of years later, because like it felt like they never added anything. But that's just me.
It's that age-old thing, Rick, which we will always come back to, where it's weird that once you reach a certain age and you want to learn about things, it's easy to learn those things because it's something you're interested in, as opposed to in school where it's like, you gotta learn this. Some things you gotta learn, yes. Learn how to speak, learn how to write, learn how to do the maths. You don't have to learn about King Henry and his 6 lives.